Your website is the mousetrap. Your content is the cheese. Welcome to Content Matters with Barry Feldman and Andy Crestodina.
Conducting interviews with experts is a game changer for content marketers. You'll generate compelling content and build relationships with influencers in your field.
And that's why interviews matter. Barry, we're back. So interviews are a great format for content. What is it? They good for quality, good for relationships. Give us the short version. Why are interviews so valuable?
Probably credibility. You certainly get nowhere without it. And I think a lot of our listeners and content marketers. How much noise can we make? In general, strive to get credible fast. As fast as possible and as credible as possible. Mm-hmm. The whole concept, once upon a time, sunk in with me really quick with this book, Michael Stelzner from Social Media Examiner. Mm-hmm. And he wrote Launch, and he coins this phrase in the book called the elevation principle. Mm-hmm. And he says, experts should be rooted in your content strategy. So we've talked about that. We're going to continue to talk about it. And he says, as the elevation principle explains, great content plus other people are the first two areas your business should focus on. Content by experts or focused on experts should become a significant portion of what you produce. It's a significant portion of what he produces. Social Media Examiner is a multi-author blog, and it's populated also by video and podcasts and so forth. And, Michael's an expert on a lot of things, but he's not an expert on everything. And so, he brings in the Mari Smiths of the world and Amy Porterfields, and he's built, a franchise, if you will, on being a hub of experts in all areas of social media. So I think, you can't ask for a better form of credibility.
Yeah, it makes the blog more credible. It adds value for the readers. It improves the quality, whether it's an interview or even just a contributor quote. I think it's a sad and lonely blogger that goes it alone and writes all of their posts by themselves and never includes the voice of another marketer, another expert, another influencer in their content. And they miss out on a traffic opportunity. The kind of weird way to say it is ego bait. But every time that you include someone else in your content, that's an ally in creation. But an ally in creation is an ally in promotion. And everyone who's included in an article has an interest in seeing that article get traffic. So it's very likely that whoever contributed to that piece, whether it was a deep dive interview or just a short quote, is likely to share it, increasing the reach. I sometimes say that content optimized for search includes keywords. Content optimized for social includes people.
You said that. I made a little bit of a placard out of that when we talked about whatever we talked about last events, and people gave that, which is in my Twitter stream, all kinds of thumbs up. I think people understand, the people element, like you just mentioned, is an invitation, I think, to create an army. If it's an interview with one person, I guess that's a small army, but certainly an element of interview style content is the roundup post. And boy, now that everybody's in a race to make the longest post they possibly can, these roundups are like 46 experts.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's super long. I've seen them with like a grid at the top, like a clickable grid of like 100 faces that jump you down.
Yeah. Welcome to my book.
I don't know that that's a bad format. I'm not. What do you think? Have we jumped the shark on roundups, or do you think that's still a viable format?
It's a viable format because you want to accomplish what you do accomplish, and that is, the credibility thing we already talked about in the promotion army. If I'm one of those guys and I like the way I was quoted and I'm not in the 46th place.
For sure. Right. It's nice to be at top. Order matters somehow on those. So other formats, Barry, take us to so we named the contributor quote, which how does that work? You're writing someone and you reach out and you say, hey, you're an expert on this topic. Would you mind submitting a quote for this on this? Give me something on one of these tips, and you just include that. The roundup, which is a whole bunch of contributor quotes, more or less, or just a big multi-contributor interview. The deep dive interview. What about, I don't know, other formats, video, lots of podcasts are interview formats. How do you work this into your strategy?
Yeah, much like you do. Certainly contributor quote is right up there with the top. I'm on your radar, and you say, here's a post, and there's a little hole here where you make the most sense to talk. And so we've got a little bit of shorthand going on there because we've done that so many times before, and that's probably not how everybody handles it. And there's probably a little more of a advance warning and so forth with deadlines and stuff. But certainly, I'm going to make it easy on you by capturing your expertise in the way that you'd like it to be as simple as possible. You're a busy person, and therefore, a one question email or sent to a type form or questionnaire, Google survey, whatever makes it easy on them. And then the roundup, same thing. The roundup generally has quite a bit more forethought if you're gonna make it lengthy, and you're not going to publish it until you have 10 or more. And like we talked about, that number's getting a little out of control. I mean, my answer to that thing is I think the next Google algorithm is going to carefully scrutinize the long post that's long for the sake of its length, and not for quality. But perhaps that's a little ambitious now. So formats that we've talked about certainly include that. I was saying while you were away and then rebooting your computer, I was talking to people about the thing that I just did to you as a content format, which was the Terminator, and I gave it a little bit of a play on this. And for those that don't know anything about it and are listening to us only on audio, Andy and I are working on some content about what does or doesn't belong on your website. Much of it's repurposed from things that we've both written, especially Andy. And so I just gave it a little shtick, and we came up with a 2-part series, 2 20-minute interviews. In each case, there was 7-minute or 7 questions with Andy, or 7 things that Andy or Andy recommended that you terminate from your website. I have some credibility when it comes to content and website creation, but who are you going to call? You're going to call Andy Crestodina, who has a website building company and has the experience to tell you what does and doesn't work based on the numbers. And so certainly the audio interview, whether with or without video. And the list is long, from this book, Launch by Stelzner. He throws in some less than predictable ones, like you bring in experts as judges for your contests.
Oh, that's clever. I've also seen clever roundups where people say, I'm asking 5 people to tell me their 5 favorite books. So now you've got 5 contributors who are mentioning 5 authors, and you just doubled the size of your promotion army because all those people are mentioning something else in their mention. I get some requests that don't make it that easy. I get some requests where people are asking me to create an account on a website where I have to fill out this information before I get to this page where then I can answer their questions. And it's just it should be as close to a no work proposition as you can possibly make it. What a lot of people do is they give you the deadline, which is good, the question, which is good, the length of format they want in the answer, which is good. Then they give some nice to haves, like if you'd like to mention something you've done in a link, or if you want to add an image, that would be great. I think that it's something that when you get these, it's very clear what the person's expectations are. And then if I'm contributing, and anyone can do this, if you're ever contributing to something as an interviewee, you can go above their expectations. And if you want to be at the top of that mega roundup of 55 different people, if you give an answer that is formatted more in better ways, maybe bullet points, and if it includes an image, you just gave them the best answer of everyone they got because you went a little bit farther into the content. Maybe just you went a little longer, or you just made it something that's more easily digested. That's a good way to respond to interviews in ways that you get a better result and put you at the top of that roundup.
Yeah, spoken like an experienced interviewee, I guess. You don't want to be in 46th place with a post that's 10,000 words and test people's patience that way. But
an image.
As an inexperienced interviewer, I learned exactly what we were just talking about. Sometimes I would say, well, my story is going to unravel like this, and if you read this, 15-page attachment, you'll be ready to give me the perfect answer. No, that's going to lead to failure. Make it simple. Tell them what they need to know, and accelerate the process in any way you can.
Yeah, I recently did a giant roundup. You were in there. It was like 34 tips for anyone who's ever attended a conference. And I just sent everybody the full text and said, scan down, find something you like, and just throw a quote in anywhere. Most people I sent that to threw in quotes in several places. And Amanda and I, she's the editor of the blog, we had problems because people had put it in too many quotes. So, subsequently I sent people saying pick one place to add a tip, but you can do it by asking for one specific thing in a very short email. Would you please give me your one top marketing tip for blah blah blah, or tell me your one prediction for the year, blah blah blah. Or I actually have had pretty good results sending people the entire article in the body of the email and say, send me anything, anywhere, any length. I love you for it. People like that, to give flexibility.
Yeah. Live and learn. Some of those things are going to backfire. As soon as you said that, I anticipated what the problem was going to be. A little too much help. But you have sort of an arsenal of friends that want to be in your posts, and I think you could see coming a mile away that one was going to kill it. A really cool idea.
Actually, here's a tip. A lot of the people in that post I didn't know before, and they were not part of an arsenal at all. When I got something back from someone saying, "Oh, thanks for including me," here's a quote for you. I wrote back saying, "Thank you for the quote. Who do you know that I should also include in this piece?" And it's through that I reached out to 3 or 4 people that I had never talked to before. So when you get it back the first time, right? If you're working on a roundup, you don't have to pick all 5 people you're going to include. Just send it to a couple and ask them, because now you can reach out farther through other people's networks to grow your connections, which, after all, is one of the main benefits of collaborative content, which is growing your network.
Yeah, you put us networkers to shame, man. You're always thinking about the next link in the chain, which is very smart. But great segue there, because we don't have that much time, and I do know that we should talk about this. Once upon a time, really from a interviewer point of view and an egocentric point of view, I sort of thought as like, if you have a blog, podcast, interview program, what have you, it's kind of a press pass, because you're probably going to get access to people that you might have thought would have been impossible. But ultimately, whether that's true or not, whether it feeds your ego or not, in the end, you make friends and you build relationships, and opportunities come your way, right? How many people do you know that you consider sort of like, your online buddies in marketing, because they interviewed you or you interviewed them, or it was a second degree interview, like you just talked about?
Yep, that's a big thing. So if you want to really consider yourself to be friends with someone, especially if they're remote and you don't have the opportunity to sit down with them face to face, what is it that happens to someone that will make you remember them, or make you feel that reciprocity toward them, or make you feel like you've been teammates? Well, to collaborate. You want to collaborate with people on content. So it's like if you've ever been on a panel, the people you were with on the panel, you'll always kind of think of in that way, like, oh, remember that thing we did together? Yeah, the goal in networking and in growing relationships and friendships is to do something together, a common experience, even if it's only a 1,000 words of text. Another way, and this is he's here with us in the live audience, Charlie Meyerson. Another way to collaborate with people on content is to invite them to write for your site, and vice versa. Our multi-author blogs, great piece of content, Charlie. Thank you, awesome. I loved it, and I learned from it. Nothing's better than waking up in the morning and reading and learning from your own blog. Like, that's a great day.
Yeah.
So it's another format for collaboration. It's not necessarily an interview, but I highly recommend that people have some kind of guest blogging strategy, both to write for other places and to get other writers for your place.
Yeah, it's not an interview. That's what I was thinking, but it's probably the result of an interview, or a relationship that began with an interview. Is Charlie who wrote on the Orbit blog about how to do good audio interviews?
That's right. We'll include that in the show notes, because that was a champion piece of content.
Yeah, and it's all adding up to me now. So he's with the Tribune?
He has a background. He's with Rivet Radio, but he has a strong background in all kinds of traditional media, going way back. So that guy's a superstar. All right.
Yep. Well, we probably have a few minutes, and we're not going to open the lines until after we're done with the podcast. But to talk about how to make a good interview, you remember some of the things that he hit on there that we share with our audience today?
Oh, well, he's talking about this from the really professional perspective. And we've been kind of casual about this so far in terms of like just being bloggers. But a guy like Charlie and real professionals will do research first, right? They'll do a lot of prep work. We'll include the tips in there. But here's one of them. I'm not sure if he mentioned or if I had this from somewhere else. But a good way to do an email interview format is to not send the person 5 questions, but to send the person 1 question. And then when they reply to that question, your subsequent question can be a question about their answer. If you want the interview to read like a conversation with a mix of long and short answers, and it's really just going deeper on topics, then you don't have to just dump 10 questions in the person's lap and hope they respond to 6 of them and copy paste in arbitrary order. You can actually make that more of a conversation by sending one question at a time. It's also a lot more fun.
Yeah, one of the things I read that this morning. Or reread it this morning. And one of the things that I went away from it was get to the point. And I always feel the pain of this in webinars where, there's a little bit of housekeeping and we're going to allow you later access. And I'm so happy to be here. And, and there's I purposely show up 9 minutes after the beginning of the webinar because that's approximately when they start. Right. Mm-hmm. And so respect the time of your audience and your interviewee and start, kick it off just like we've decided to do now without saying, welcome to Content Matters and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly right. And speaking of kicking it off, it's time. Barry, you ready?
It's time for content and cheese. Or is it
That's
cheese
right.
And content? No, cheese and mousetraps. It's my metaphor.
If your website was the mousetrap, the content is the cheese.
Right. Something like that.
Okay, so now we're moving into the segment. So Barry kicks us off with a content / marketing and traffic driving tip, and then I'll follow him up with a quick website, as in a conversion marketing tip. So Barry, take it away.
All right, a little cheese. I'm feeling good about this one. This is some sweet cheese. You think of interviews as, of course, audio and often video, like we're doing right now, or collaborating on a video, and usually in the end, in its published form, a blog, an article, a podcast. A blog. For some reason, those two are the same thing to me today. So yeah, 1, 2, 3 are all of the above. However, you don't think, and you often miss the idea that an interview can be visual. And so take a excerpt from the video, the juiciest thing, and make a postcard, placard, whatever, hero shot out of it, and make that the star of your page, such that if the interviewee, ladies and gentlemen, today, the great Andrea Vahl, is going to be with us to discuss social media and Facebook advertising. That's the hook. But the bait is this killer thing that your interviewee said that become this pretty thing that becomes the social media rock star of sharing your interview.
Good one. Excellent.
And now time for Mousetraps, which concentrates on websites and conversion with
That's right.
Andy Crestodina.
I'm going to give you a quick mousetrap tip as in converting that audience into a potential collaborator. Here's a tip for conversion rates as you reach out to people to potentially collaborate on your content, as you reach out to people to be interviewed. Now, there's a lot of posts that talk about exactly how to word the big ask. Like this is like digital PR, like journalists are trying to PR people are trying to get journalists' attention, and they're saying, well, use a light conversational tone and a clear, direct subject line and compliment them first. And they write these, they give this advice about how to construct this email where you're asking someone for something in this very sensitive way, which makes sense. But I think a way better tip for converting someone into a potential interviewee is to simply build a relationship with them first, so that when you reach out to an Andrea Vahl, you're friends with her. It's not weird at all. Like, she's happy to help, right? So if you take the proper steps in online networking, your conversion rate will quickly go to 100%. And I mean the proper steps as in subscribing and listening to their stuff first, sharing their stuff first, commenting on their stuff first, right? Connecting with them in various networks. One is not enough, right? Really use social media as a way to connect and build that relationship. So then when you can jump offline, and I recommend doing a Blab, a Skype call, a Google Plus Hangout, or a phone call. Great social media marketers don't just stay online. They pick up the phone. The phone's the greatest social media marketing tool, I think. Ring, ring, your network's calling. I know. Have you heard of that? It's amazing. Like copper wire in the universe, or bounces off satellites. That is how to convert that fan, that person you've been a fan of for years into someone who's going to contribute on your blog. Because you took every step, and it's not weird or sketchy or creepy because you actually built a relationship with them first. That's what online networking is about, and one of the best outcomes of that is collaborative content, as in the interview.
And in the end, the love you take.
Great line. That's the last song, second to last song in Abbey Road, which is the last album the Beatles recorded, is equal to the love you make. You get what you give. You've got to put it out there first. Exactly. So,
yeah, I throw that at people all the time when we were talking about guest blogging, which we've done on our show, and I was interviewed about yesterday or the day before, and say, don't be a stranger to that editor when you approach them for the first time. Be somebody that they know because of the comment stream on their blog.
Exactly. I mean, it's a weird, cold thing when you get an email from someone that you've never met saying, would you write me 600 words on this topic, or would you be interviewed? I mean, people like to be interviewed, and very few people will turn down the interview. But if you're really asking for a serious collaboration, then you should have taken the steps to actually include the person in your network first, which means you've reached out on more than one network, you've been sharing their stuff, you've commented, they know who you are, it's not weird at all. You don't need to worry about a fancy, carefully worded request because you're friends.
Cool. We did it. That was the first time that I sang the Beatles for our audience, but not the last.
I love it. What's the next one about?
The content marketing mission statement sounds so stiff and optional, and it's so important. You're going to learn all about it.
Good one. I'm excited. Okay, guys. See you then.